said, I know I could get lost. I know I could get broken. Forgive me, Father, but I gotta take a chance. Oh, I'm already gone, so just pray for me. For me. Pray I find my way.
Hi guys, welcome back. So to do this hair, I'm using 3 bundles of this hair that I bought from Aliexpress, and they're 3 16-inch, a 14-inch, and it came with this free lashes as well. And the closure, one of the issues I had with the closure was this gap right here that I'm going to show you in a second. I did talk to the seller, and the seller said once I brush it and wash it or whatever, it's going to go back to normal. I was like, okay, I'm going to give that a try, and I did, and it did go back to normal. But I just thought, yo, this was not looking right. But overall, I do like this hair. The closure looked really great, and as you can see, as I brush it, it went you know, it started to go back to normal a little bit, and I'm going to show you what the back looks like in a second. So this is what the back looks like. As you can see, the gap is a bit prominent at the back as well, but you know, I just had to ignore that for a second. And the hair came tied like that, and I've always wanted to get a red hair, and I'm so glad I finally did. And yeah, and on the band it says unprocessed virgin hair, and yeah, so that's it. And the hair was actually really true to length, so I measured all 3, and there was no shedding at all. Actually, nothing came off at all. So now onto the construction. So to construct this wig, I'm using a dome cap, 2 C needles, and a few threads already prepared, and I'm using the scissors and this T-pins that I just received, and it worked like a charm. And first I'm going to place the dome cap on the mannequin head. By the way, you need a styrofoam mannequin head, honey. Yeah, you do, except if you want to sew it on your head, that's okay as well. So I'm placing this closure directly onto the edge of the front of the dome cap. The reason why I'm doing like this is because the closure is going to be at the perimeter of my head, so it kind of makes more sense. So now I basically just T-pinned. I use the T-pin to hold the closure in place, so that way it's not moving around when I'm sewing it. So my sewing technique is basically going under the dome cap through the closure, and I'm going to do this all around. And at each sew, after each sew, I'm going to tie each sew. Does that make sense? You're going to see as I go anyway. So I'm just going to let you watch me sewing this, and I'm going to come back and explain the other process. Okay, so now that the closure is sewn, I'm now going to flip the cap to the other side, so that way I can sew hair on the perimeter of the hair. The reason I'm going to do this is because when I pack the hair up, when I do choose to do so, I don't want the wig itself to be showing. I want the wig to be camouflaged, I mean to be well hidden. And I got this technique from Pickmill, and I'm actually using the single weft. You know, the hair actually came with a double weft, so I separated it, and I'm using the single weft. This is because I don't want the hair to be too bulky. So if you want to do this, go ahead. But if you feel like, you know, you really like the heaviness on the nape of your neck, go ahead and use the double weft. This is just my personal preference. This is how I've been doing it since I actually learned about this technique. So I'm not sure if you noticed that when I actually started sewing the weft, I sewed through the actual bend of the weft in the initial go, as you can see here. And then as I went ahead, I just kind of sewed not through the weft, kind of under the weft. I don't know if that makes sense, but as I said, the first instance, I'm going to show it again. So I sewed through the actual bend of the weft, so that way it's more secure. Because if I had sewn through you know, through the weft, it wouldn't have caught the weft, so the weft wouldn't stay in place. I feel like now I'm just confusing everybody. Maybe I should just stop talking because I don't know what the heck I'm saying. So anyway, now that I've gotten to the end, I'm basically going to cut the weft carefully. This was really painful, guys. I don't generally like to cut my weft, seriously, but yeah, I'm going to cut it, and I was so glad that nothing was really coming off. You know, it wasn't really shedding, which was great. So you need to cut carefully. So now to continue constructing the wig, I've flipped the cap upside down, as you can see, and then I've gone back to my double weft, and I basically used double weft throughout the hair because I wanted to look a little bit full, because I've realized the hair didn't really have much body, you know. And then I held it in place with the T-pin, and I just kept sewing around, and then I sewed under the weft, right? That's what I was trying to say before. Seriously, like, seriously, I sewed under the weft, not through the weft. Damn it. So before I sewed through the weft to begin with, and then under to continue, and then throughout I sew under the weft. This is so that my wefts can last a bit longer, even when I decide to take the wig down and use to do something else, which I probably won't. But yeah, you get the gist, you get the gist. So I just sew under the weft and just keep going. And as you can see, this fold over here is a bit bulky. So if you did find yourself in a dilemma like I did here, you basically need to pay more attention and just kind of sew that bulge down, you know. And now to start the second weft, I'm starting at the edge of the closure, and then I'm overlapping where the other weft stopped, and then I'm just gonna keep sewing around and around and around until I get to the edge, until I get closer to the closure. So here I am at a crossroad, you know, close to the closure. It's not really a crossroad per se. So I just wanted to explain what I did here. So as I got closer to closure, I basically sewed the weft down to kind of be alongside the closure, as you can see. Sorry, I kind of turned the mannequin the other way. I don't know. It seemed like I forgot where the camera was. Like, seriously, this was kind of a weird angle, but I wanted to, you know, get this done and show you guys how I did this. So I just basically sewed it down alongside the closure, and then I split the weft and then sewed them one at a time. I felt like if I had sewed the weft as a double at the same time, it would have been a little bit more difficult. Feel free to try it, but I felt it would have been a little bit more difficult, and I wanted to pay more attention to my sewing pattern to make sure that this thing is not going to come loose when the wind blows, honey. And I wanted to make sure that gap is really closed, you know what I mean. So I just made sure I paid a lot of attention to my sewing technique to make sure the gap is closed and the wind don't blow my weft, because I don't want an accident when I'm in public, because you know. So I'm gonna anyway, you get what I'm saying. I hope you do. So I'm gonna keep going as normal, and basically the sewing technique is kind of like a C shape, if you can see it. As you can see, it's kind of like a C shape sort of, and I would advise you guys to get yourself a C needle. C needle honestly has changed my life. My wig making life, that is. It has changed everything. It's awesome. I would advise you to get a C needle, because the curvature, is that a word? Yes, it is. The curve makes it so awesome. So now as I'm getting closer to the closure, I'm going to keep going in the C pattern, and I'm actually sewing the weft individually rather than as a double, so that way, as I said before, to pay attention to the sewing pattern to make sure there's no gap and to make sure there's no accident. And I'm actually sewing the weft to the closure as well. Yeah, you don't have to do this if you don't want to. As I said earlier, you don't have to do what I did in this video if you don't want to, but this is what worked for me. The previous wig I made, I didn't really sew close to the closure, and I see the difference. And that is it. That is it. Done. I really love this hair. I really do. And I had to, you know, I ended up washing it, which I'm going to show you in a second as well. And as you can see, the weft is not really showing as much, and the closure is very, 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 very secure and as close to the weft of the actual bundle as possible. And yeah, so now I'm gonna just do all my knickknacks, and I'm gonna take you to the bathroom. Actually, before I take you to the bathroom, I am going to cut the excess dome cap underneath the closure, because you know the closure is what's going to sit on my scalp, and if the dome cap is there, it kind of defeats the purpose of the closure, to be honest, I feel, you know. And when you're cutting this, you want to be careful not to cut too close to the sew, because if you do, you have to sew it back like I did. I actually cut too close to my sewing pattern, because because I was distracted. I was watching YouTube videos. So yeah, so now I'm washing the hair, and I'm washing the hair with this weird shampoo and conditioner, and I call it weird because I find the image in the bottle kind of weird, even though it's a peach, kind of looks weird. So anyway, I'm washing it with a lukewarm water, and this conditioner is a mix of shampoo and conditioner, so I don't have to like wash it individually. And then as you can see, the water actually turned a little bit red. I was a bit concerned, but the color still stayed on that bundle, honey. And then I basically comb through the hair with a comb, not a tight knit comb, a wide enough comb. And then I'm gonna attach the hair to my head, and this is my weaving pattern, guys. So nice and simple, doesn't have to be knit. Then I put my weaving cap on, which I don't really need, and Bob's your uncle. I love this hair. Washed it, it's great. The pattern is great. When I curled it, as you can see, it turned out awesome. And you know, I needed to straighten it a little bit more, but I didn't end up doing that. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, comment down below if you have any questions, and please subscribe. I love you. Whatever you do, remember to love yourself. Bye.
Just go back to